Middle to front, was that Chelsea just being really good, Janusz, or defensively, was that just Wolves being really bad, or was it a bit of both today?
It's always a little bit of both, but two things. And, I mean, remember last week on the show, I think I had Maresca possibly being fired by Christmas, right? And not that I'm going to backtrack, but this was absolutely excellent. And I think I knew to be smarter than that, talking about Chelsea, because there are two factors when you talk about him, right? Luis mentioned that we'll wait and see, because next month there's like 5 straight games when they play Liverpool, Arsenal, Newcastle, Man United, and all that. So we'll really find out about them, because going forward, excellent defensively, an absolute disaster, even in the 6-2, right? Look, the good news for Chelsea is that Maresca, you know how he wants to play. This is not going to be Graham Potter. This is not going to be Poch. This is not going to be Thomas Tuchel, where for long periods of time during their season they were pragmatic, right? I mean, this wasn't a team that Chelsea fans wanted to see, and we expected, to be fair. Here, obviously, firing on all cylinders, decisive, as Luis has made the case here. So I think that's positive, because that's how Maresca wants to play.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired of talking about the disciple of Pep Guardiola, but you could see it here again. This time it was Malo Gusto coming inside. The Madueke having a great game. Cole Palmer playing centrally, which I think everybody's is asking for. And he looked good. What did he have? 3-4 assists and a wonderful 3 assists, wonderful goal as well. We'll see, but that's probably a place for him. Nico had some other chances as well, so that's the positive. The negative, look, I mean, last year 77 goals, a lot of late goals in the season, 63 conceded. Midfield and defense, absolute disaster. Look, we talk about money with Chelsea. Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez got to be the worst return on investment ever. Nothing. Caicedo, again, in the beginning, okay. On the first and second goal, guilty. Enzo on the first goal as well, guilty. Both of those players. And defensive transition, I mean, this game could have been 8, but it could have been 6-4, 6-5 as well. So he needs to find that balance, and maybe Chelsea will be okay.
Okay, Elemi, it's 2-2 at half-time, because Wolves have equalised just before the break. Again, a ball in causing chaos, and Strand Larsen with the goals. So what's happened in the second half? Have Chelsea done anything differently? Because Madueke gets his hat-trick and Joao Felix gets one off the bench. So 4 unanswered goals for Chelsea in the second half. They were scintillating middle to front.
Yeah, I think discipline was the key here. Discipline from the home side, really. Because when you look at the midfield, right, with Lemina and Gomez, or lack of, exactly. That's exactly what I think Gary O'Neill's side was missing. As the game continued, it was a game where I think I tweeted saying that this reminded me of like a 11-a-side version of futsal, right? Where it's just like back and forth. It was very entertaining. But at some point, and to the point that Janusz was talking about regarding Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo, at least what they were giving was more penetration going forward. And I think almost every single time in the second half that Wolves had possession within the midfield or the final third, they were losing the ball and they were just so open. We liked how Ait Nouri likes to go forward. I mean, it was a wonderful little Cruyff turn before he delivered, helping in that first opening goal. But they also leave themselves so exposed. And I think when you just have that pace, Madueke on one side, Cole Palmer, Mudryk, Nico Jackson, and they're on it, they're just going to get you. So as the game developed and they lost discipline and a mental capacity to just hold fort, Chelsea just opened the doors. And they just have too much talent not to take advantage. It's going to be an interesting season for Gary and Wolves, because I thought, well, maybe at home they can be solid. And yes, it's the beginning of the season, but they got to be much better off the ball. Not even when they have it. When they have it, I feel good for them. They have a lot of offensive talent. When they don't have it, it's very, very worrying. And there's going to be better, more disciplined, stronger, mature teams in Chelsea coming their way this season.
Okay, Janusz, if I'm a Chelsea fan, I'm like, hold on a minute. You've just given us a kick-in over the last 2 or 3 weeks for the players that we've signed, for the way that we've played some of the games, for the continual change of managers. We've just scored 6 goals. Where's the praise for this one? Is it praise that's deserved just middle to front, or could they potentially have turned a corner?
Well, success loves quiet, doesn't it? Right? I mean, amongst all the chaos and the talk and the performances, it was always going to be difficult. The amount of players they have, they've bought a lot, but let's be fair to them, they've sold a lot lately as well. I didn't look at the money exactly, but I tell you, it's pretty close what they've done this season. I'm not talking about in general. So I think we've given them praise. I thought from the beginning. I mean, the very first minute, if you remember, I mean, I think Madueke has the shot, subsequent corner. Was the first goal for Chelsea, right? I mean, they went at Wolves from the beginning, just as you expect from Maresca's teams. Now, that's going to take time. And, let's wait and see. I just think some of the narrative around Chelsea has got to die down. They're going to have to prove it in those games that I've mentioned, because it's just 2 games. They lost the first game to Manchester City. Now against Wolves, you'd like to think that they should get a decent result. So I don't know if they've turned the corner, but this is going to go a long, long way in terms of the plan and what Enzo Maresca wants to do. This is the football that he's going to want to play. And at the very least today, he's proven that this Chelsea team is capable of doing that. So that's a big plus, I think.
Yeah, good to watch today. 6 excellent goals. Madueke at times unplayable. Cole Palmer back to his best. So Chelsea win by 6-2. LME, what about Wolves? It's not a nice start to the season. It was Arsenal away in the first game, and then Chelsea at home. They've just been turned over. So I'm just looking at their fixtures going forward. They've got a League Cup tie at home to Burnley, but Premier League, they go to Forest. They've got Newcastle at home, Villa away, Liverpool at home. Is this just a ride the storm and try and get through this and pick up points where you can against the teams that you're expected, or do you worry for them with what you saw today?
Yeah, I think we briefly talked about this in the opening weekend, and I think I'm going to stick with what we were discussing, which is I am not necessarily worried in terms of relegation, but in terms of what they need to do to go forward and be a top 10 team. That's where my worry goes, specifically because I think the likes of Max Kilman leaving opens big holes for them. At least he offered a lot of leadership and security at the back. I think Pedro Neto, I think we can see now how reliant they were on him. There's a lot of talent here, individual talent. That's why at the beginning of this game, it was really fun to watch, because they were going at Chelsea and being offensively minded, which is great. What worries me is maturity and discipline, in certain moments. And just like Janusz was talking about, let's see what Chelsea do against bigger teams. Wolves now really have to worry about not just bigger teams, but teams that are almost in the same kind of objectives that they're themselves in. And those matches that are coming up for them are going to be interesting. I mean, remember, this was the first time since 2007 they've conceded 6 goals at home. Like, I hope for the sake of Wolves fans that this is not going to be a trend. But they got a lot to do because this is a competitive Premier League that's going to have a lot of teams that are going to want to push for those top 10 positions and even further on. I don't see Wolves at this moment doing that.